I don't have a pitch, but what I'm going to do is walk through my paper on how to set and achieve your life's goals, and I'll walk you through the techniques, sort of in a specific order, which I hope will make sense, in that it's sort of progressive. But the first thing I want to teach is basically this is about productivity and how to be productive and focused on things that will help you achieve your life's goals so that you make continuous progress towards achieving them. Hopefully one of your life's goals is helping plate rate get traction. If it is, that's a good thing. And I would recommend making that one of the goals once you set up all your goals, as I recommend doing in this talk. So let's talk about time blocking. So time blocking is when you schedule time on your calendar to accomplish a specific task. I really recommend doing this. It helps you schedule your day. If you look at my day, like I block time for, testing plate rate in the morning. Now I have lots of meetings that run over that, which is not ideal. But, I also have meetings throughout the day, and then I have, tasks here that I'm going to accomplish. And so you can see I use time blocking on a regular basis to basically when something needs to get done, if I can accomplish it during a specific time of the day, I block my calendar for that time of the day, and then I'd be sure to accomplish that thing during that time. And you want to be consistent with accomplishing those things. Otherwise, you end up just zoning them out, and then you end up not doing the things that you were time blocked to do, which isn't good. So you want to be diligent to actually stay true to the time blocking and accomplish the tasks when you had them set to be accomplished. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
So another thing I'll mention, you don't only have to time block things that you have to get done. You can also time block, I'm going to rest during this time, or I'm going to be spontaneous during this time. I call that planned spontaneity. Like, I'm just going to do whatever I feel like in these 3 hours. And, I call that planned spontaneity because you're planning the time you're going to be spontaneous, but you choose what you want to do at that time. And that's fine too. But time blocking will help you manage your hours in the day. We generally, if we sleep 8 hours, we have 16 hours in the day to do other stuff. And that still gives you room for creative freedom. So now, what I'm about to explain can really be transformative in the way that you achieve your life's goals. And so this is, my building off of a bunch of best practices in productivity. And I've used this technique for the last year or so, and it's worked really well for me. So basically, what you want to do is start off by creating a Google Sheet, and mine is called Garrett's Goals. And you create a tab called Life, and you have 3 columns: name, description, and status. And you list out 3 to 10 life goals that you have in force rank priority order, where the top is the highest priority and the bottom is the lowest priority. That'll be consistent across all of the tabs that I'm going to talk about setting up. Now you give them a name and a description. The goals should all be SMART goals. What does that mean? It means it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So let's talk about each one of those. You want to be really clear what your goal is, so that it's got to be so clear that you know whether or not you've accomplished it. There should be no ambiguity about the goal. It really needs to be clear enough that it's really like black or white, you accomplished it or you didn't. It needs to be measurable. So if you want to say, you don't say I want to make a lot of money, you say I want to make $100,000 a year. And so it's a measurable goal where, again, part of being specific in some respects, it's being quantitative and being sure that you can measure that goal. You also want it to be attainable. You don't want to say, I want to achieve $1 trillion a year in income, because that's probably not achievable, and you're going to be spinning your wheels trying to achieve that. But saying you want to achieve $1 million a year, okay, like that I can work with. There's ways to do that. If you stick with plate rate, you can end up there. The goal is you want to be able to have something achievable within a specific time period by your best estimation. And that's what time bound is that there should be a time limit by which you accomplish them. that's kind of automatically done in the way that I set this, and that, the first goals that I mentioned are your life goals. The next goal that I'm going to mention is decade goals. And so those are goals that, you want to, life goals are the time bound is sometime in your life. You can also have goals like your goals for the world, which are not limited to your lifetime. And, I have life goals that probably almost certainly won't be achieved in my lifetime, but I want to kind of help move things in the direction that those goals will eventually be attained by society in general. So some of us think really long term, other people are focused on the next 2 years, that's fine too, or the next 6 months, that's fine too. But in this discussion, we're going to talk about, focusing your aims on things that you want to achieve in your lifetime. Next is relevant. The goal should be relevant to what's important to you. So in the case of the personal profile, we talk about values. And so these goals should align with your values. Whatever your values are, whatever your world goals are, you should be aligning your life goals with those. So the next thing I'm going to say is you're going to create a tab called decades. And basically, when you go down a level, you'll do one of two things. You'll either choose one or two things to focus on from the higher level plan and blow them out in terms of how to progress against them, or you'll choose 4 to 6 things from the higher level and choose the next action item, like the single next thing that you need to do to accomplish that higher level goal. So for example, if the goal is to make $1 million a year in your lifetime, then your decade goal might be to make, $200,000 a year. That's just one example. Or it might be, become, get a valuable skill set as an entrepreneur, which is what you're going to do that's going to make you $1 million a year, because there's not a lot of jobs that will earn you $1 million a year unless you go really high up the chain in management, which requires being really political. So if you're really good at politics, maybe that'll be the case. But my recommendation is entrepreneurship is a much more likely path to success. You'll use, one of these two techniques to populate the decades goal, and then you'll basically look at what you want to accomplish in the next decade of your life. And so you'll do the same thing again to determine goals for year, month, week, and day. And what you do then is you basically focus your days on things that achieve your week's goals, your weeks on things that achieve your month's goals, months on things that achieve your year's goal, year on decade, decade on life. And so everything you're doing every day is focused on things that will help you achieve those life goals, so you don't get distracted by stuff that really doesn't serve a higher purpose for you. And so this really keeps you focused on the things that are most important to achieving your goals, which means you're more likely to achieve them. Now, keeping in touch with these goals is really important, because you can write these down and then never pay attention to them again, and they're not going to be valuable to you because you're not going to stay focused on them. So what you want to do is every day when you wake up, review your daily goals and look at what your daily goals are and try to accomplish, as many of those daily goals as you can. Have them again in force rank priority order. Try to achieve the top one first, and then once you've tried to achieve that, move or done what you can against that, you move to the next one. And you basically go through all your daily goals and get as much done as you can every day towards achieving those daily goals. Then choose a week of like a week where, like I look at every Friday night, I look at the week's goals, and that way I have the weekend to do the bulk of work towards my weekly goals. You can choose any day of the week that makes sense to you. Some people may choose Mondays because that's, or Sundays because that's the day before their week starts and they get the most work done on the week. I get the most work done on the weekend because, I don't have as many meetings and stuff. Although lately my weekends have been full of meetings, but not as full as they are during the week. So every week you'll look at your week's goals. On the first of every month, at a convenient time for you, review your monthly goals. And then on the first or second of every year in the evening, set up a calendar invite. This is time blocking for annual goals. and then look at your annual goals. On the day before or after your birthday, you don't want to set up on your birthday, but the day before or after your birthday in the evening, set up a time to review decade and life goals. And that way, sort of on a time when you're celebrating the, you being brought into this world, you're thinking about what are your long-term goals and how is everything you're doing on a day, month, week, and month basis leading up to, and year basis leading up to those decade and life goals. And every year you'll focus on your annual goals, which will be like a calendar year goals setting. So you want to time block those, as I mentioned. And then next thing is cutting out what doesn't help you achieve your goals. So you want to look at what are you spending a significant amount of time on that doesn't help you achieve your life's goals. And if you're spending a significant amount of time on something and it doesn't align to any of the goals in your sheet, you need to ask yourself, am I missing a goal in the sheet? Or is it something that's done to maintain physical and mental health, which in turn gives us the capacity to keep achieving our life's goals, in which case, sure, that's important. And then if not, then you have to ask yourself, is this something that I should be spending my time on? I'll give an example for myself. I used to play video games, for more hours than I care to admit during the week. And, when I look back, I say those video games, I thought were making me happy, but I've been much happier actually since quitting video games. And those video games didn't help me achieve any of my life's goals. Whereas all the things that I'm spending my time on now are much more focused on things that achieve my life's goals. Now, if I were to have done this sheet back then, I would have said my life goal is to retire as a gamer and retire and be a gamer, just to like spend all my time playing video games. And that was what I would have put as my goal. And, but the truth is, even if I had wanted to do that, playing video games at that time wasn't what's going to get me there, right? Playing video games isn't helping you become a retired or someone that can retire and get video games. It's actually, Jonathan, we were set to meet earlier today. So I'm actually in another meeting now.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I'll just reschedule.
Yeah, just go ahead and basically what I'm trying to say is, playing video games at that time of my life wasn't going to help me retire to be able to play video games later. Making more money was what's going to help me retire to play video games when I retire. And so I really should have been focused on things that were going to help me make more money so that I could retire earlier and start my life as a retired video gamer, which no longer is what I want to do. I have no interest in video games unless my kids want me to play with them, and then I'll play with them. But other than that, no more video games for me. Forming good habits. So studies show that you can form a new habit every month in general, like one new habit every month. So generally what I recommend doing is choosing for every month a habit that you want to create, and you add it to your monthly, weekly, and daily goals as a habit. And then add time blocking for the time of day that you're going to practice that habit. If you want to go for a run at 8 in the morning, block 8 to 9 in the morning to go for a run every day on your calendar. And then, don't do it 7 days a week because you want to leave 1 day a week to let your muscles recover. So, you got to know about your habits, but block 6 days a week, 8 to 9 in the morning to go for a run, and then form that habit in 1 month, and then at the end of that month choose a new habit for the next month. And then if you keep forming good habits every month, then you'll notice that you'll end up having much better habits within the first few months. You'll have new good habits formed that will help you be more focused on achieving your life goals and more capable on achieving your life's goals. Really, the thing that good habits does is it helps you in your physical or mental health, which can help improve your sphere of influence, because you're going to be a happier person. And if you're a happier person, you're going to be able to more positively impact people and work with them. And so, I'm sorry, I'm not on video, am I? You're going to be more able to positively impact them, and you increase your sphere of influence. And in increasing your sphere of influence, you make it more, you empower yourself to be more capable of achieving your life's goals. Any questions about forming good habits? Or anything that I've talked about so far?
I want to say something about that you say a little bit at the beginning about
Yeah,
like also scheduling your time when you're not going to do anything, because sometimes you are not doing anything but you don't realize it so much.
right.
So that's like to remind you that you are okay, like being conscious when you are not, well, you're taking little time, like okay, like for example, just fast you have 2 hours free, and like that time comes, and those 2 hours are like going, and you don't realize that you are not like like not doing anything, but you're not realizing it. So it's good to put like, okay, these 2 hours I'm going to like not work or something. I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, I think you're coming on to a good point, which is like a stoic journal. I think it's good at the end of the day. So it's good to learn from the failures that you have in each day. And so like I have a calendar, you'll see time blocked at the end of the day. Oh no, I removed it, but I used to have time blocked at the end of the day, my stoic journal. And it was basically to review my successes and failures of the day. I need to add that back, and be more focused on it. But basically, it's to review successes and failures of the day and learn from the failures or misses. And that's kind of a way of self-improving and looking at your actions for the day with a critical eye. And so, Hector, if you spent 2 hours and you kind of lost those 2 hours, at the end of the day, you should go, what was I doing during those 2 hours? And next time, let me try to be more self-aware and try to spend those 2 hours focused on something that is productive. If you want to be. Now, it's okay to take 2 hours off here and there, but you don't want to do that without realizing you're doing it. You want to do it saying, I'm going to take 2 hours off because I need to rest. And you choose to take 2 hours off rather than I lost track of time and suddenly 2 hours passed and I have no idea what happened to it.
Yeah, awareness. Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah,
that's self-awareness and awareness and
self-awareness,
mindfulness. You know,
self-awareness.
mindfulness is really, I think, the right term for it, is just being mindful of how you're spending your time.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Now I'm going to skip financial goals because I'm going to probably do next week's discussion on finance. Let me I'm going to do finance and investing retirement. Actually, I have a catchier name for it. What? How to retire as a millionaire on minimum wage. So I will teach you all how to do that, believe it or not. And if you make more, you'll just do better. But I will teach you how to retire as a millionaire, even if you're on minimum wage. So you'll save yourself thousands of dollars a year in financial advisor fees by listening to that lecture. It'll teach you how to do better than a financial advisor tells you to do. So avoid distractions. So try to time box time sinks like social media and checking email. So time block the time that you're going to check social media and email, and say, I'm going to check Facebook for half an hour a day or an hour a day, but then don't check it outside of that. Don't be constantly polling and checking your emails every few minutes. You want to say, check emails, twice a day is generally what I do. 2 or 3 times a day, I'll check emails. Maybe 3 or 4 if I get interrupted. Sometimes I only have 5 minutes and I'll check emails for 5 minutes just to spend those minutes productively. But in general, you want to just try to focus on, not pulling, social media or emails or anything, but consciously using your time for, a value add task. There's also a phrase called Ohio, which is only handle it once, which means rather than pushing a task back over and over again, if it's faster to just get it done to the next, like the way that I interpret this rule, the way that I read about it was that if it's faster to get a task done than it is to write it down, then just do it. And whatever task it is, just finish it until it's done, rather than write it down to try to accomplish it later. My modification on that is to say, get it to the next discrete step. So move it forward to a point at which you can put in your daily goals what the next step is to do to move that thing forward, but get it forward to a point that it's at a next discrete step. So it's not really only handle it once, but it's try to handle it a minimal number of times. You don't want to keep multitasking on something over and over again. If you can focus on it and get it completely done at one time, you're better off because you're more productive when you focus on one task in succession rather than, dropping it and picking it up again later. But for big tasks, you have to move it to the next discrete step, and that's the next best thing. Any questions about avoiding distractions? All right, overcoming procrastination. So it's very common for people to procrastinate. They did a study on procrastination. There were 6 key things that meant that people would procrastinate. The task was boring, difficult, unstructured, ambiguous, lacking in personal meaning, or lacking in intrinsic rewards. Now I'm going to tell you how to overcome all of these reasons for procrastinating. There are 2 primary solutions. You may need one, the other, or both, depending on what you're procrastinating and why you're procrastinating it. First thing you want to ask yourself is, why are you procrastinating it? And then you look at one of these 2 goals, one of them, or one of these 2 ways of accomplishing it. If your task is boring, difficult, or lacking in intrinsic rewards, create your own reward for it. Reward yourself. Literally pay yourself for it with a gift or a reward. Like, I'm going to get a nice bottle of wine is something that I would do. Choose, to take yourself to a nice dinner, buy yourself a new gift, do something to reward yourself for doing that task, and promise yourself that you will not get that reward until you complete that task. And if you do that, then even if it's boring, difficult, or lacking intrinsic reward, you'll have a motivator to get yourself over the hump. The other thing to do is, if the task is unstructured, ambiguous, or lacking in personal meaning, then you want to clarify the goal of the task, align the goal with your personal goals. If the goal is not aligned with any of your personal or professional goals in your life's goals, then consider that you may not need to do it at all, and you could consider skipping the task entirely. And basically, if there's no good reason for doing it, if there is a good reason for doing it, clarify what the task is, and if necessary, reward yourself for doing it. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Anybody have like a reason that they're procrastinating that doesn't meet one of these criteria, or that they feel like one of these solutions would not help you overcome that procrastination?
No.
All right, then I'm hoping this will help you with procrastination if you are a procrastinator. So be mind clutter free. When you think of something that needs to be done, the first thing you want to ask is whether or not, and this is what I was saying about, if it's faster to do it than to write it down, you might as well just do it, and just do it right away. I have a saying, you can't do anything in the past and you can't do it in the future. So you should only get things that you should always do everything now, because now is the only time you can get things done. So jokes aside, wherever that goal sits, you have to decide. If you think of something that needs to be done, you want to decide, is it a daily, weekly, monthly, annual, decade, or life goal, and put it in your goal sheet. If it's not quick enough to just do immediately, put it in the right place in the right priority order in your goal sheet, and you will get to it. And you'll get to it, you'll get to it at the right time. What you'd get by writing down your goals in your life goal sheet, or your Garrett's goal sheet, is your I call mine Garrett's life goals. What you get at that is that you aren't constantly trying to remind yourself to do something, right? Like I can't imagine I'm the only one that, like, has something that I have to remember, and then I keep bringing it back up in my mind so that I don't forget it, because you don't want to forget it. Well, that's a cluttered mind. And so what you do is, if you write down your goals and you write it in the appropriate, like, time category with the appropriate prioritization, you'll get to that goal whenever you're meant to get to that goal, and whenever it fits in your priorities. And so you don't have to think about it anymore, and it declutters your mind from having to think about things that are, not immediately relevant.
Yeah, but what do you do if that happens when you are sleeping?
Great question. Well, I think what you mean is when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have an idea.
That's what I mean.
And what I do is I send an email to myself and I say, add this goal to my goal sheet. And that happens to me not super frequently, but it does happen, once a month, twice a month. And I just send an email to myself. Some late rate business ideas I thought of in the middle of the night, quite frankly, and I just send an email to myself, because I'm not going to remember it if I just go back to sleep. And so send an email to yourself of, I need to handle this tomorrow, and then put it in the appropriate place tomorrow.
Yeah, that's smart. That's practical because you have the phone. Yeah.
Yep. I always have my phone by my bed.
Thanks. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great question. So this frees your mind from clutter. Everybody is bad at multitasking. Some people are better and worse, but everybody's bad at multitasking. And so the idea of writing down ideas to declutter your mind is really valuable. So that's really the end of, and that's right at time at 10:30. Although actually I rescheduled my 10:30, so I have a little longer to go over. But I want to ask for feedback. Is this helpful to you guys? And I can post this in the Discord chat. I'll put it in general. But was this helpful to you guys?
This was awesome. I mean, this like really helpful. Really helpful.
Great. Anyone else have feedback?
I should have solved this problem of procrastination for me. I am a big procrastinator, and it was a good idea. Actually, I love the idea of mailing, because when I sleep, I just don't sleep. I always think before sleeping, and great ideas came before I sleep. So either I can't sleep or I can't remember, but I will try to email. Actually, I may not write an email, but I can use voice recording.
Yep. You can use a voice recording, but email yourself to remind you to check the voice recording the next day.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, but because I don't know about you, but I'll totally forget. Like, I'll remember, oh, I had some good idea maybe, but sometimes I don't even remember that. And I'll read my email and I'll be like, I don't even remember writing that email, but that's a good idea. I need to take action on that. And so in those cases, you want some reminder to yourself to check for the last note that you wrote for yourself, or voicemail that you took for your voice message you took for yourself.
I really loved. I just loved this idea.
Great. Any other feedback? This is, by the way, this is the purpose of my not-for-profit, is to teach stuff like this. It's like life hacking skills. It's like, things that will help you be more successful in life. And I want to teach this type of stuff through the not-for-profit. I'll probably charge for this class, when I teach it through the not-for-profit, because a lot of people don't value something if they don't pay for it. And so it's not so much that I want to make money, although sure I want to make some money, but people just don't value things if they don't pay for them. So I will most likely charge for it. I've got a creative way to pay here we go. So this is the pitch that I'm going to do next week. I don't remember if I set this every week or every 2 weeks, but it's personal finance, budgeting and saving and investing. This is what I'm going to help teach you is how you can retire at 65 as a millionaire when you only have a minimum wage job coming out of college. And it assumes that you get salary increases every year, but everybody should get salary increases every year. It only includes slightly above inflation salary increases. How to live debt-free, save for vacations and big expenses. And it does require discipline and compromises, as all of my advice does, and as any good advice will. It's you just, as long as you follow the advice in this document, you will retire as a millionaire. And not only will you retire as a millionaire, you'll retire with as much investment income as you made during your career. So when you're retired, you will have the same income as you had when you retired, but just from investment income, not from working. So I should write that in here, right? That's kind of a cool accomplishment. So that's done. So is anyone excited for next week's discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds really interesting. Yeah.
Cool. And Crucial, thanks for joining so last minute. I know I just added you like right before this meeting. I just realized now that we have some US based developers, I might as well add you guys to see if this will be interesting to you. We do different things, and I guess this is every week still. Next week we'll do I'm actually going to move it back to being an hour long because we're going over. But next week we're going to go through Hector's personal profile, and then we'll go through the how to retire as a millionaire on minimum wage. All right.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right. Anyone have anything else they want to talk about in the team building session? All right, then we'll call it a meeting. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.